Okay, hi everyone. It is July 21, 2022, and you're watching the Awesome10X Philippine Market Update. We're doing it every Thursdays now, and after which we will do our crypto market update. Every Friday, we have our Global Market Free Friday class. So for those who are new, please like and subscribe and tune in every Thursdays and Fridays Philippine time around 2 to 3 p.m. for Philippine markets. And then every Friday, it's about 5:30 p.m. Philippine time. So let's begin. Okay, let's take a look at the Philippine markets today. You're seeing that the index PSCI is now trading at about 6,300. Let me share my screen here. Okay, so the index is trading 6.3. Let's just go through the index first. Just let's go through the charts. The charts are giving us indications of still weakness. Market value is about 3 billion pesos. We continue to trade at a very low volume. You've got gainers, very few, versus the losers. So today it's actually a relatively unchanged day despite advancers 117 and decliner 67. Let's take a look at your index prices for the day. BDO is trading at 120, relatively flat. Ayala Land 25.6. You can see that Ayala Corp is 25. Ayala Land 25.6, Ayala Corp 618. You've got Metro Bank 46.5, Asen 8.56, PLDT 1681, Emperador 19 peso, Pure Gold 29.65. Mega World 2.33, BPI 89.2, Security Bank 90, Aboitiz Equity Ventures 52, Jollibee 214, Luciatan Group 848, Aboitiz Power 32, Monde 14, MPI 371, GT Cap 470, AGI is 970, Converge is about 2075, San Miguel is 103, Robinson's Land at about 17, ICT 180, JG Summit 52, Meralco is 353, Wilcon 22.5. You've got Globe 22, URC 115, SM 783, SM Prime 3605. Let's take a look at the stats and analyze that first. Going through the PSCI index on a week-on-week basis, let's see. Week-to-date changes. The largest mover for the week is Ayala Land and Ayala Corp, rising 13% and 7% respectively. Mega World managed to rise 7%, GT Cap 6%. Take note though that rally for the week is actually still low compared to their year to date, wherein your year to date losses for Ayala Land has now been 30%. Ayala Corp is 25%. The year to date average change of your PSCI is about 13%. Let's take a look what are the year-to-date gainers of the Philippine market, if any. For the year, the only gainer is Meralco and Aboitiz Power, two utility firms with dividend plays. You've got SM Prime still holding on to that year-to-date gain of 6%. BDO still unchanged at about relatively flat for the year. Jollibee is still relatively flat for the year. But you could see that the weakest mover for the year in the index is Converge, down 35%. Globe 33% down after rallying quite magnanimously towards 2.8 last year. You've got Ayala Land down 30%, Wilcon 26%. So we're seeing essentially the growth stocks getting shaved off. Mega World 25% down, Ayala Corp 25% down, properties getting killed as a whole, Ali Meg except SM Prime. You've got drops on Asen, drops on SM. Yeah, so in general, you can see that the biggest drops are mostly growth stocks like Converge and Wilcon. What's interesting is that even a grocery retail like Pure Gold is down 25% for the year. Um, even as grocery actually didn't actually fall down in terms of earnings. So that is actually quite interesting. That Pure Gold is down a lot this year, despite usually seen as a consumer staple sector as a resilient name versus the other stocks in the index. All right, let's take a look at the all stocks shares here to see where the majority of the year to date largest losers and largest gainers are. Okay, on average, you've got the largest gainers in Semirara, 90% up year to date. You've got ABA, 100% up, Web, 90% up, Prim, BCP, ARA, 49% up. Prim was up 87%. You've got mostly non-index names rallying year to date, except for Semirara, DMCI. DMCI up 23%, Semirara 93%. The rest of the winners here, well, there is a winner on SSI up 27%. Those are not index names. Dogs up 15%. What else can we see here? Meralco up 20%. So very few winners. Where are the largest losers year to date? Year to date losers, you've got ACEX down 68%, APL down 56, All HC down 54%, All Day down 50%, Medic Home. Most of the Villar names are down 50% for the year. VLL also down, so 40% down. Most of the Villar basically are losing 40 to 50% this year, larger than the average drop in the other stocks. Okay, so amongst the week though, the strongest gain would be, let's see, for the week you've got CHP rallying 40%. Other than that, you've got Ayala Land, as we see, 13% rise. Nickel managed to rise 10%. All Day, after dropping 50%, is rallying 10%. DWC managing to rise 11-12% here. Let's see nga. Okay, let's take a look at these stocks. What are moving these markets? Why is CHP up 40% for the week? Cemex Holdings. Is there a company specific news on it? So you are seeing this movement. 60 cents is now 90 cents. Let's read if there is a news on CHP. CHP disbursement of proceeds here from a stock rights offering conducted in 2020 SRO. So what exactly are they saying here? Let's just download the use of proceeds. CHP, Cemex Holdings Philippines, is sharing so far that Cemex used the SRO of about 8,293,000,000, and based on the offer price of $1.54, 1 peso 54 per share, they were able to raise 12.7 billion, and they used up the SRO for an 8.5 billion peso solid cement plant expansion project, and this was released July 20, 2022. Perhaps the market saw that $1 peso 50 cents has allowed Cemex to basically raise money enough to expand their plant, and with the prices now trading at 60 cents, some people perhaps believe that that expansion is a valuable play for Cemex, which means that perhaps 60 cents to 90 cents, 80 cents has become a suitable area to buy low and perhaps sell high. You know now that the resistance is 1.5. Whether we can see the rally towards 1.5, we can only ascertain that there are several resistance here at 1 peso. And it is more of a trading range, in my view, from 60 cents to 1 peso here. So that's like CHP seeing from the weekly movers for this week. Now let's take a look at the movements here. We're seeing Ever, SSP. Are there news here of that 17% rally? Let's take a look at the charts of Ever, SSP just in case. Okay, so Ever has rallied from 8 pesos to 11 pesos. Oops, sorry, that's not the Ever here. Philippine Ever Gotesco here. From 25 cents, it has rallied to 30 cents. Let's just go through what exactly is the news here. We can see that in 2021, judging from the chart of Ever, this has gone from something like 9 centavo to as high as 75 cents. So let's go through some news here of Ever on why it rose like that last year and what could be the reasons this year for it to continue higher. So company disclosures tayo here, information, quasi-reorganization, so material information. Let's go through this. Ever Gotesco has a board meeting decreasing their authorized capital stock to 2.5 billion pesos. They're also trying to increase to raise funds for a new business venture. and they want to change their company to Everwood's Green Resource and Holdings. So they're basically going through a new business, and they are trying to, what is Everwood's Green Resource then? So let's take a look at more quasi reorganization here. Okay, it says here that in a board meeting held on May, they are gonna be increasing their capital stock up to 7.5 billion pesos. They are doing a restructuring, and okay. For now, though, we don't know what this restructuring will be. Everwood's Greens Resources seems to be a resource name. Maybe is it a mining name? Let's read further. What exactly are they forming? Material informations, transaction. So in 2021, the prices have rose since this, when was this? Around March till around June. So let's take a look at the news disclosures around March and June. Okay, here, annual report tayo in June 2021. Says here that they have a loss of about 5 billion pesos. So they still have a lot of debt. They are restructuring perhaps those retained losses into shares, convertible perhaps. Because sometimes the debt is convertible to stock. What else can we see here? Um, Wala masyadong news except that they are doing a restructuring. Ano pa ba yung sinasabi dito? Restructuring. They're adding a company inside, which I am not aware of on what type of company that would be. But so they're amending their business model. When you say you're doing green resource and holdings, I suppose they, from the name itself, they're looking to do. Is this an energy name? Is this a green resource? Is it green energy type of business? Sorry, what does it mean? Okay. It says here it's agri-tourism and bamboo industry. So they're shifting to agri-tourism and bamboo industry. Let's try to read Google if there's anything written about Gotesco's foray towards this agri-tourism and bamboo industry. What exactly is that? Agri-tourism bamboo industry. So 7 days ago, they changed their name. Diversifies to change their corporate. They're eyeing a fundraising here to include bamboo farming, manufacturing of bamboo products. Um, that's all that we know so far. So they are diversifying their businesses, and they are planning to eliminate their debt as a result through dividing through shares. What else? Says here that the bamboo project is aimed to be a property in connection to contract farmers to employ workers to manufacture bamboo, manufacturing, furnitures, decorations. Okay, Gotesco is now led by businessman Anton Yu as the president. He took over the shell company in 2019. He's looking to do a sustainable and green-oriented company. Okay, bamboo industry daw. I have no idea, but that seems to be the reason why we are seeing that pump in Evergotesco's price over this week. So CHP and Evergotesco seem to be sharing a bullish tone here relating to company specific news. CHP on the expansion of on finishing their SRO, and Evergotesco on that restructuring. So possibly you've got some selling pressure here at 40 cents or 36 cents. But it seems like this 25 cents arena has become support so far, as long as this 25 area is still being bought for the last few months. You can see for the year. Okay, so many resistance here at 36 and 44, just to be careful on the resistance as well. But that is quite high, 20 to 50% higher if ever you find the next resistance. What else are we seeing here? What is this SOC? Let's take a look lang. So there's not much news. So we take a look at these esoteric stocks. No volume, so let's not look at it anymore. Um, what else is looking okay? Let's take a look at Ayala Land, SSI. Any movements here? Okay, some Nicolasia movements. Okay, let's take a look at that. So Nicolasia has rallied 10% for the week. We can argue that this is a matter of buy low, sell high, with people believing that commodities in general are a necessity for electric vehicles and for a lot of batteries. So you've got that demand in nickel for steel. So you still have that support. So far, that 5 peso support has become a support the entire 2021. 2022 proved to be a major support for that and used to be the resistance in 2019. So it looks to me like a big trading range, and the we haven't seen Nicolasia break above 8, so the first resistance will still be 8. It's still quite a big range, no? 5 to 8 for Nicolasia. Um, we saw the rise on all day here. So what exactly is happening here? All day rallied 10%, here at about 30 cents. Anong bottom niya? Wait lang, 28 cents. So the stock has fallen what, 80% down, 70% down, from 1.1 to about 30 cents. And all day marts is supermarket. So we argued before that it was quite expensive, and we were thinking that it needed to go down just to be at par with pure gold's pricing. I suppose the market eventually figured it out that it was quite expensive on IPO. Um, for now, though, so 60 cents, so it's down basically 50%, just like Medic is. We're now gonna see whether the numbers of all day for the next few earnings quarters will prove higher. Pero we'll see if there will be any. Ayala Land rallied this week, 10% here. So let's take a look at that movement. 13% rally, but take note, Ayala Land has been down 30% this entire year. So you're actually still in a huge downtrend for Ayala Land, and this rally would be seen more like a short-term temporary bounce. So Ayala Land is, as we see, a very sharp downtrend here, 30% down. We expect that drop to continue and this rally to be temporary. Unfortunately for Ayala Land, even as it rallies towards 27, you've got that resistance at 27 and 28. You might actually see further drops because interest rate hikes is generally negative towards your property sector as it becomes more and more difficult to access mortgages as most people loan money when they're buying a property. So it's going to be a bit hard to purchase a property in the realm of tens of millions or a few multi-million pesos. So that's a bit of a stretch, the way BSP continues to hike rates. We do have to mention that the dollar peso right now is trading at 56.3. It is possible that with Bangko Central raising the rates in the Philippines last few weeks ago, that it could actually stop the strength of the dollar, but only temporarily, because this dollar peso is still really in a sharp uptrend, and you cannot actually negate that primary trend, which is still a very strong dollar. What you could only do is perhaps make a healthy correction back towards this 54 area or 55. So to relieve the pressure from inflationary controls, as people have been paying a lot in dollars and are suffering as a result. Most people in the Philippines are denominated salaries in pesos. And yet, as the country is mostly importing, we have to pay a lot of our goods in USD. So it's really suffering for the economy. And it's harder for the Philippines to actually service their debts, which is also dominated. Some Philippine debts are in dollars, so quite negative territory pa rin for the Philippine market despite the rally today. 6.3 or 6.2. The big movers of the week seem to be non-index related. As you can see, CHP and Ever, those are very small cap names. CTS managed to rally back to 1 peso, 8.5% up. But I don't think that there is a very strong correlation as, sorry, CTS is global equity, right? So it's more of a nice thing, diba? We felt that there was going to be some value here at about 80 cents. But here at about 1 peso with people at IPO pricing, I think you technically feel that the 1 peso might be a first resistance and people might actually be selling these rallies at 102, 103 in the short term, only because CTS has to prove that they're actually earning a lot of money in a possible hard market or a very volatile, choppy market in the world and in the Philippines. So it's not just in the Philippines, but of course they are global, so they are trading US. I can just clearly say to you that the Philippine markets today still have a bearish bias. The strength of Semirara and DMC are worth noting. Let's take a look at those two. Semirara is up 90% year to date. We argued that this was quite toppish here at 38 already for Semirara and continued, proceeded higher towards 41 and now towards 42. Even as it's rallying towards 42, we continue to proceed with caution here and still maintain a sort of sell as commodities worldwide, despite the hunger for coal and energy. It still is, already peaking here at 42. So with commodities, really a sign of demand destruction nowadays in the world, you might actually have some difficulty to continue proceeding higher as Semirara stock price continues higher. Be on the cautious side here with Semirara rising towards 41, 42. Same thing for DMCI, now trading at about 9.5. So we view these rallies near 9.5 to be chances to sell rather than buy, even as it can go towards 10.50 here, which is another resistance naman. So more on the selling zone, more on the reducing exposure type of name. The strength of Meralco and Aboitiz Power is nice to know. That's really more of a function of utilities. But yeah, actually, I expect it to just trade sideways. Not really super strong, but trade sideways. You've got resistance at 34 and 36.75. You've got Meralco trading with a band seller here at 370. Seems to be more like just a sideways action. So not much really to discuss, except that the Philippine market remains to be in a primary downtrend. We look for cues as the Fed is expected to raise interest rates another 75 basis points on July 27 to 28 meeting. Corporate earnings have been somber, although expectations have also been low after a few months of already discussing how bad the economy is. Most stocks have been pummeled down to reflect that negative forecasts for the year. Nonetheless, we continue to remain cautious. Seems like more downside is possible. The downside could come primarily from the lack of energy. Energy investments would continue to be a hindrance for the world. So, despite a recession, we continue to expect inflation to remain high. So, your dollar and your oil would your oil is denominated in USD. So, a brief respite of dollar strength could help the Philippine market. But since the primary trend of the dollar is still quite strong, any continued strength of the USD will, number one, be painful for many Filipinos who earn only in pesos. Now, you might argue there's a huge number of OFW remittances. I don't think that that is enough to really offset the imports that we are buying from our food produce, which directly affects your inflation. Is there a big change na mababasag yung 6,000? Big chance na mabasag ang 6,000 PSEI? Someone's asking. The view that I believe is since you've got a really strong interest rate environment, rate hikes are possible in the Philippine market. The positive thing there would be banks. Banks would earn higher net interest income, but at a cost to the investors, at a cost to several of their corporate clients. With rising interest rates, it will be very negative towards your housing, very negative for business expansion going forward. So with higher rates, I think there is a temporary boost to your interest income in the banks. So actually, from a long standpoint, you might actually take a look at Metro Bank here at about 45 pesos. There might actually be some buyers here at 45, 46, 44. I expect some buyers here even as it goes near 41 or 40 peso. We expect buyers to proceed some buying attention here um, as interest rates are expected to go higher next few months or next few quarters. There will be pockets of support, in my view, in a few banks, but PSEI would mainly, I think, be bearish bias because the consumer economy is still in a negative side. So there might be downside in SM Prime. I think that SM and SM Prime would be continuously falling down, and then this downtrend is still intact for your SM. This could go down from 780 to 700. Your SM Prime can fall further. So still has actually leeway to fall. You can see that there's this huge you call well some people would call it a range, I call it a distribution. I think that SM Prime has just been doing nothing for the last 3 to 4 years, and 33 to 40 seems to be more of a selling zone, with a potential to go below 28 even, as the entire property sector worldwide is still gonna have suffering. So I'm bearish on the entire economy, that call it biased, but I believe that there is more downside than upside. So 6.3 has a chance to break 6,000 to go near 5.9, 5.7, or even worse. We would see company specific stocks, I think, for the next 6 months. Like some stocks who manage to have good numbers might actually surprise on the upside. You never know. Maybe Nicolasia was able to lock in high contracts, high forward pricing. So if they can actually deliver good numbers and dividends to boot, maybe 5 peso Nicolasia can actually rise back to 6 or 7 or even 8. You might actually be surprised that some contracts have already been paid in advance. So I think like for the year, there might be a potential move, even if commodities have dropped a bit. So I think like the drop in some producers in the Philippines might actually give a chance to rally. Although maybe let's wait for the numbers, no? So I'm actually thinking that this drops in nickel FNIs may actually be more of an entry point rather than a sell off point. Banks, I think, are also a potential buying zone. So, parang same lang ayo. FNI used to be trading here 2 pesos, rally to 3. Baka maging trading range yan, 2 to 3. And same for Nickel Asia na 5 to 8. Okay, see you guys. And I think no change naman in view that the Philippine markets will trade lower and sideways. What would change our mind is better than expected inflation. If inflation gets curbed, what would change our mind is better data on OFW remittances and perhaps better corporate earnings. If we do get really good data from these numbers, possible tourism can actually be a boost to the GDP. So those are possible green shoots. Take a look at travel industry. US has been doing well in the travel tourism data. So that might be actually a few pockets of growth. A few pockets of growth would be in the travel. So if travel remains recovering, that means possible jump for Cebu Pacific here from 42 to 47, 48. Maybe you will see a potential jump on Macro Asia, which is trading near 4 pesos today. For areas, probably back to about 5 or 6. And maybe your casinos can actually benefit as well from tourism. But I think in the short term, we wait for the numbers to prove to us. Market is in a show me territory, show me story, i.e., the banks, if they show great numbers, my view is the banks may actually potentially earn better than expected. So Metro Bank might actually be a buy, especially if it trades at about 45 below because it pays 2 peso dividend. Um, that's all for now. Can't say much except let's wait for more data and more clarity from overall corporations. Thank you very much. Bye bye.